Let's call to order this February meeting of the Parkside Council. Everybody join me, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Sidlow? Here. Mr. Costigan? Here. Ms. Purcival?
Here.
Mr. Gould? Here. Madam President?
Here.
Mr. Sweigart and Mr. Powers are not in attendance. The mayor is not in attendance. And our junior members, Brianna? Here. Maha? Here. And Daniel? Here.
Thank you very much. As well as our engineer and our solicitor, and okay. Did we hear from, the last time I talked to her, she was coming, so.
No.
Okay. All right, we'll open with the correspondence, please. Correspondence?
Yes. I have two letters. It's to council from Dave Babinger about the code enforcement job. I wanted to take a minute to thank most of council for attempting to reappoint me as the Borough Code Enforcement Officer. But at this time, I am unfortunately unable to take the position due to a recent job promotion. While I was notified by a reliable source in April 2015 that I wasn't going to be reappointed to fire marshal, EMO, or code enforcement, I continue to work through the remaining year in the Parkside Borough, and most important, the residents 100%. Moving forward, council is aware and always has been aware if you need anything, I am willing to assist you in any way. Since I wasn't appointed in January 2023, I can only assume it was due to the request of Councilwoman Purcival for an executive session. But either way, she publicly praised me in every council meeting that she ran as president, including 3 days prior to my termination abruptly ending due to a borough heading into a different direction and going from certified to not certified doesn't make any sense, but the majority of the council in 2016 felt the decision was in the best interest of the borough. I have no issues with the meeting with council to discuss my 17 years with the borough and why it ended abruptly. Dave Babinger. And then I have a note here from Sonny, he's another resident, says, he's leaving this note to all of council in regards to Nick Capobianco, your code enforcer. He does an excellent job in helping people. I see him drive around in the community more than I do the PD. We need more good people like Nick to be around and to keep the community in code. He has always helped me. And this is from Sonny, who's a former veteran and has lived in the community for a while, and he wanted to express that opinion. And then I'll finally have one last thing, is the tax collector's report. December 10th, 2022 to January 7th, 2023. Good evening. The treasurer has received a total of look, I'm getting my numbers wrong again. $132.51 to date. There was $35,350.55 in revenue deposited from December to January. This will close out the tax year for 2022 at Fisher. That's it.
That's it. Thank you very much. And does somebody have the mayor's report?
The mayor's report for January 1 through January 31, there were 6 crimes reported in the community, 2 criminal mischiefs, 2 assaults, and 2 burglaries. We had 90 calls for service. The most prevalent calls, medical emergencies 9, domestics 11, suspicious persons 7, 911 hang-up calls 7. We had 2 accidents, provided 14 traffic details, made 20 motor vehicle stops, issued 7 traffic citations and 7 warnings.
All right, thank you very much. And now it is time for the call to citizens for agenda-related items only. Okay, since we have nobody who would like to say anything, Well-
We need a motion for the previous meeting minutes.
It's not on here.
The minutes were just submitted. We'll have to do that next month.
Okay. All right. First, I'd like to start by saying I'm sorry that Rob is not here. I understand he is ill. I have just heard that he's back home, so that is good news. That means he's on the mend. And let's see here. The tax bills have all been sent out, and Timika and I were talking about possibly moving her schedule around a little bit so that she could be here some days later on. Have you thought about that, Timika?
I had, and we have a lot of seniors that live in our community, and I just feel as though I need to be here earlier for them.
Well, on Sundays
About
you would
working
be.
later, that's fine, but even shifting the time back, a lot of seniors are coming in early to pay their tax bill. If you're saying, okay, well, come in at 10, let's just say we push it back till 10, and, well,
What if
again,
that were
they're-
just one day a week?
I think this is better discussed.
All right, that's
I think
fine.
this is very discussed.
That's fine.
Again, I just feel as though
That's
with the
fine.
senior community, I need to be here, and if it behooves the president to cut hours, then that's okay, that is up to you.
No, I thought you had brought it up a while
No,
back.
we had brought up that what I would do was have extended hours. What I would do is take like a half an hour break and then come back and then stay till 6 o'clock.
Okay.
With
Rather
the
than
additional
six. All
hours
right, we'll talk
for
about
until
that.
the end of March.
Can I suggest that we do 2 evenings for the working people, so that Ms. Timika could come in like 5 to 7 or 5 to 6:30, 2 nights a week for the working people?
I would love that, but,
I can do that. I can do 5 to 6:30. That's not a problem.
all right, let me know what
One day a
nights.
week, sure.
Let me know what nights
Okay.
work for you. That
Absolutely.
way we can publish it so that people can come in after work.
Okay.
And the other thing we have going on in this meeting is we're going to discuss some resolutions, vote on some resolutions to hire our 2 full-time officers, which has been something that I know Michael and the Civil Service Commission have been working very hard on, and so I'd like to thank them all for their service. And that is all that I have. The engineer will tell us about the projects that we have going on, but I'll let him wait until his portion, so we can move on to Mr. Boone.
Thank you, Madam President. Treasurer's report to the Borough of Parkside for date February 8th, 2023, meeting February 15th, 2023. All bank accounts are reconciled through January 31st, except for the WSFS bank account and Sharon escrow account for Green Tree. They don't have statements for that, but there will be enough motion. And it's basically reconciled the following month. We're including the bank reconciliation and statements for all reconciled funds for council's approval. The general fund for the month of January, $15,717.24 is deposited in the TD Bank, and expenses of $4,370 were paid. During this period, $52,401.36 of deposits were received into the Sharon Bank General Fund, and $186,746.98 of expenses were paid out, including payroll of $37,522.97. Below the bank balances per bank statements of January 31st, 2023. The audit will be completed on February 27th and 28th of this month, and the attached transactions that flow to Sharon Bank and General Bank funds. So the general account for Sharon Bank has a balance of $306,549.94. General account for TD Bank has a balance of $286,718.79. General account Pliget has $221.47. General account Wispis is $15,000. and $57.90. And then we have the other accounts, which are in minutia. We do have the Pliget Police Vest Fund that has $6,653.91. Liquid Fuels Pliget is $8,691.90. And Liquid Fuels TD Bank is $42,554.21. With that, I will make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
Any questions?
I do. On the bills for approval, we have our prior solicitors group, Rudolph Clark LLC. I was informed by you, Mrs. Guy, that we would receive a $795.50 credit. It is not there.
Okay.
Also, in the newest bill that we received, they charged us $1,110 to research fire marshal and health inspector qualifications. It was a 6-hour research, which I personally did in 12 minutes. I'd like to know who authorized that. It's on this month's bill, December's bill.
I'll have to talk to them about that.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I favor all bills except for Rudolph Clark LLC.
That's fair. Anything else?
That wasn't the motion to pay the bills, that was the motion to accept the treasurer.
Accept the treasurer's report. Yeah, it was. All right, we've accepted the treasurer's bill. Now, would you like to make the motion?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to pay the bills, and I wanted to recuse myself from a $1,300 bill that came from the company I work for.
I appreciate that. Second?
Oh, second.
Any questions? We already noted your...
I am noting again.
All right. The vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
I, with the exception of Rudolph Clark.
Noted, thank you. Opposed? So moved. Let's see, open spaces, Mr. Bull.
For finance, I will report general progress. Open spaces, we've had a number of walkthroughs. There's a new scout project that's moving through that should add some value to the Arboretum's part of the woodlot. Would be a nice benefit to the public in the future. There is some work that will need to be done. We'll have to budget for it though. See where things start to play out. But it is a woodlot. It is a natural area. It's not a manicured park. It never has been. It won't have swings. It won't have mixed use areas and things of that nature. So we're holding with the intent of what it was designed for. And with that, I will report general progress.
Thank you very much. And the junior council report.
I don't have anything. As people know, I've kind of been out of commission lately, so I don't know if anybody, I know Daniel, you had brought up an idea for something. And if any of you have anything to say.
Yeah, I just want to really quickly mention, I'm going to make it quick because I'm not good at public speaking. I just wanted to bring up maybe putting down some memorial gardens for three things like addiction, Westpole, something for mental illness like the woodlot, or to suicide for the fitness trail. Because a lot of these things are often overlooked and affect a lot of people quietly.
I think that's a great idea.
Wonderful.
So this month in the park that we had a food drive and free online got the help of our school's National Honor Society, and we were able to collect over 200 non-perishable food items. So I just wanted to give a big thanks to Lisa, to our school's NHS team, and to the community for doing this.
Actually, I have something here that Lisa wrote. She said, Parkside Food Drive would like to thank Sun Valley High School National Honor Society and our junior council members for supporting the food drive this month. Their generosity benefits the food program run by Pastor Ben Grenier at Real Church Brookhaven. Their pantry is open on Tuesdays to anyone in need of assistance. And thanks as well to the Parkside Elementary students and staff for collecting food this month. Their donations also benefited the pantry at Real Church in Brookhaven. Was there anything else? Thank you very much for your hard work. I saw the pile of food you guys collected. Recreation?
I have the mayor's report for recreation this evening.
Yep.
The mayor would like me to thank Carol Bonner for wrapping all the Christmas gifts for the toy drive. And she's apologizing for not being here this evening because of a personal issue. She'd like to report progress with the Recreation Committee and stated that we had 3 new people join the committee and another one that said she would help at events. So thank you everyone for coming aboard. March 1st is the next Recreation Committee meeting at 6:30 here in the borough. All volunteers are welcome. March 30th, they will be boiling eggs at the firehouse for the egg dyeing. March 31st will be the egg dyeing at the firehouse at 6 to 8 p.m. April 1st will be the egg hunt at the woodlot, and that starts at noon. She asked that all the children bring their baskets and plastic bags. Next month, the Recreation Committee will touch up on Easter events and the May 6th tie-dyeing event and an art fair, possibly one movie night. To all those that stayed or staying up to date on events, Mayor would like to thank everybody for checking out the website and also the Recreation Committee. Please keep an eye out for all future activities. Thank you, the Mayor.
Thank you very much. Anything for police, public safety?
I just want to thank everybody that helped us with the hiring of our 2 new full-time officers, especially Chief Murray, the Civil Service Commission. They've worked tirelessly the past month to try and get this together to the finish line, so I want to thank them all for that. Chief Murray came to me about a year ago expressing the dire situation we had with police and missing shifts and things like that. So in less than a calendar year now, we'll have hired 3 full-time officers in Parkside. So that's pretty remarkable, I think. And now we'll be up to 4 full-time officers, which I believe is a first for Parkside. I know we have had 3, but I don't think we've had 4 in the past. So it's really a big achievement that we've made, and I want to thank the council for their work and towards that. So with that being said, we have 2 resolutions to vote on to hire our 2 full-time officers. So the first resolution is 1991. Whereas Officer Charles W. Young was hired as a part-time patrolman with the Parkside Borough Police Department in August 2008, and whereas Officer Charles W. Young graduated from the Delaware County Municipal Police Academy in December 2002, and whereas Officer Charles W. Young also serves as a full-time sergeant with the Delaware County Park Police Department, where he has been employed as a police officer since December 2002 and serves as a police firearms instructor, and whereas Officer Charles W. Young is a United States Marine Corps combat veteran who served 4 tours of duty in Iraq, earned 17 service medals, and was honorably discharged, having attained the rank of sergeant. And whereas during his tenure as part-time patrolman with the Parkside Police Department, Officer Charles W. Young has distinguished himself in the discharge of his law enforcement duties and earned the high respect of the Chief of Police, his fellow officers, and the citizens of Parkside Borough. And whereas the Parkside Borough Civil Service Commission recently conducted written and oral hiring examinations for the position of full-time patrolman in the police department, and whereas Officer Charles W. Young successfully completed the examinations as a candidate for such position and is presently ranked 2nd on the Commission's certified eligibility list, and whereas by correspondence dated February 7, 2023, the Parkside Borough Civil Service Commission has certified that Officer Charles W. Young has met all eligibility requirements for appointment to the position of full-time patrolman. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Borough of Parkside, and it is hereby resolved by the authority of the same, that Officer Charles W. Young shall be appointed to the position of full-time patrolman in Parkside Borough Police Department for a probationary period of 12 months. Upon completion of the probationary period, and upon written notification from the Mayor and Chief of Police that Officer Charles W. Young's performance has been satisfactory, such appointment shall be made permanent. And so I will make the motion to adopt Resolution 1991.
I'll second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
And then our second resolution is for the second officer that we will be hiring. Whereas Officer Mark E. Townsend is a proud Sun Valley High School graduate, and whereas Officer Mark E. Townsend received a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Newman University in 2018, and whereas Mark E. Townsend presently serves as a full-time police officer with the Delaware County Park Police Department, where he has been employed as a police officer since March 2020, and whereas Officer Mark E. Townsend also serves as a part-time police officer with the Bethel Township Police Department since 2019, and whereas the Parkside Borough Civil Service Commission recently conducted written and oral examination has conducted written and oral examinations for the position of full-time patrolman in the police department, and whereas Officer Mark E. Townsend successfully completed the examinations as a candidate for such position and is presently ranked first on the Commission's certified eligibility list with a composite score of 94.66. And whereas by correspondence dated February 7, 2023, the Parkside Borough Civil Service Commission has certified that Officer Mark E. Townsend has met all eligibility requirements for appointment to the position of full-time patrolman. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Borough of Parkside, and it is hereby resolved by the authority of the same, that Officer Mark E. Townsend shall be appointed to the position of full-time patrolman in the Parkside Borough Police Department for a probationary period of 12 months. Upon completion of the probationary period and upon written notification from the Mayor and Chief of Police that Officer Mark E. Townsend's performance has been satisfactory, such appointment shall be made permanent. And so I'll make the motion that we accept Resolution 1992.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
All right, so I want to again thank everybody for their work in moving those resolutions forward and getting these extra officers hired. Like I said, we've come a long way. And I believe, Mr. Solicitor, you wanted to say something?
Just have a few comments, if I may, Madam President. Tonight is a special night for Parkside Borough. For the first time in its recently recorded history, the borough has hired full-time police officers through the highly competitive civil service examination process. It is a watershed moment in this small borough's proud history. The speed in which we are able to achieve this accomplishment is truly exceptional, and I commend our Civil Service Commission members, Chief Murray, Councilman Costigan, for expediting this process. The hiring of 2 full-time police officers this evening advances our police department exponentially. It is no secret that it has become a much more challenging process in finding qualified candidates, as those seeking law enforcement careers across our nation are rapidly decreasing. The candidates hired this evening are products of an exhaustive and rigorous examination process. The candidates we selected this evening are truly exceptional. Officer Charles Young is a United States Marine Corps combat veteran with no less than 4 tours of duty in Iraq, while earning 17 service medals. That says a lot. Anyone who has borne witness to Parkside Borough Council meetings over the past few years knows full well that we are a spirited community, and we have a great diversity of thought and opinion. But there is one subject matter on which council and the public have forged a universal consensus, and that being the utmost respect for the men and women who have worn the uniform in defense of our great country. Officer Young's upcoming swearing-in ceremony, where he will take an oath to protect and serve the public, is a natural extension of his former duty to God, country, and Corps. Officer Mark Townsend was born, raised, and educated right here in Parkside, and is a product of the Pendelco School District. He remains a proud resident of this borough. Mark represents everything that is good and decent about Parkside. His hiring is something that we can all celebrate and take pride in. Mark also comes to us by way of the Bethel Township Police Department, where he presently serves as a part-time officer. In Bethel, Mark serves under the tutelage and leadership of former Parkside Police Chief and current Bethel Township Police Chief, Jake Egan. To this date, Chief Egan remains one of the most highly respected figures in the Delaware County law enforcement community. His recommendation of Mark Townsend as a candidate for a full-time patrol officer in Parkside Borough speaks volumes about the wisdom of council's vote here this evening. Borough Council and our residents remain fully supportive of our police department, and this evening's hirings are a visible testament to that support. And make no mistake, the hiring of these 2 full-time police officers makes our community a better and safer place to live, work, and raise our families. Thank you, Councilman.
That concludes my case.
Excuse me, do we know, maybe the chief would answer, do we know when they'll actually be on the street so that we can negate the contract with Upland Borough?
Not yet. I want to give them time to give their notice to their current employers. As soon as we have that locked down, we will get them in here, and Officer Young will be the easier one because he knows the borough. He's been working here part-time for years. Mark will be a little bit slower because we've got to put him through a training process for our police department, but we will keep cranking as quickly as we can to get that done.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Okay, onward to ordinance report.
I report general progress.
Okay. Do you have any meetings scheduled?
We still have a meeting scheduled standing for the first Tuesday of the month.
First Tuesday?
That's still standing. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sidlow, is the senior discount permit issue still on the committee's agenda to discuss?
I have done. I've been dealing with a personal matter that has taken up a lot of my time, so I have not had any chance to work on ordinances.
Thank you.
That's why I report general progress.
Thank you. Anybody have a license and inspections report?
I have that here. There was 1 building permit, 6 use and occupancies, and 2 re-inspections.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have anything from code enforcement?
Oh, yes.
for February 2023, a trash issue on the 2600 block of Cisco Court, and general progress.
Thank you. Do we have anything for Public Works?
No, Mr. Powers will report progress on all of his fields.
Thank you. All right. Recycling.
Thank you. I'd like to report December's totals first, which were not reported last month. The trash figures were 104.21 tons. Recycling was 22.01 ton. For the month of January, trash was 101.52 ton, and recycling was 17.91 ton.
Thank you. For communications, do we have anything for that? Theo?
Still March, the next newsletter, but
All right. Thank you. Sorry about that, Theo. We've already heard the tax collector's report, and Mr. Rodo.
Thank you, Madam President. For an engineer's report, flashing beacons, highway occupancy permit for concrete and related work was reviewed by PennDOT. Revisions were made and a resubmission was sent back to PennDOT on February 3rd. The following proposals, and one of them is a revision, are in anticipation of approval by PennDOT in the upcoming days. Armour & Sons revised beacon proposal of $32,948.00 is up for consideration. We'll do that now, or?
Sure. What do you need, a motion?
Yes.
What do we have, a resolution or a motion?
No, just a revised proposal
All right.
for beacons.
All right, so,
So this is where they had to break it out by line item, right?
Yes.
That's the reason for the additional vote today?
Yes.
That is correct.
And it's revised, the first one was in October. We moved some things out and they added in different push buttons that are audible. And since October, it's an increase of $674 from the original. That's the revision.
And this will be a push-button system and not an automatic.
Yes.
Thank you.
There were recent issues in another borough with the radar detection with traffic
Yeah.
being so close and it's activating too often.
I
So
would think
thought
so.
it best to remove it from the scope.
I'll make a motion to accept this proposal.
Second.
Any questions?
The second part to this,
Hang on. we
I'm
gotta
sorry.
vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Go on.
Second part to this is a proposal from Ernell Company for $8,000 for crosswalk and ADA ramp removal, as directed by the borough when we did that pedestrian study to go down to one crosswalk. And it also involves a related restoration, and that is up for consideration.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept the proposal from Ernell and Company.
Second.
Any questions?
The $8,000 will come out of general fund. Will there be any other expenses out of general fund for this project?
No, that is not anticipated as long as PennDOT covers the rest of all of the armor proposal. That will be it.
Do we know when PennDOT will give us a decision on that coverage?
PennDOT emailed the solicitor and I a couple of weeks ago and had a list of items such as breaking out all the unit costs and also a couple of certifications that these are allowed to be used on PennDOT roads. And we are waiting for armor. That's the last item that needs to be sent from armor to us so I can submit to PennDOT and try to get this finalized.
Super, thank you.
Sure.
So motion's on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Grants, West Cole project currently has funding through the Green Region and Greenways programs. Provided an update to funding administrators as to our revised scope, and we are able to move forward. Request authorization to bid the West Cole Memorial Project with the reduced scope as we've previously discussed.
I'll make a motion to proceed with the bid process for the West Cole Memorial Grant Project.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
The ARPA Small Water and Sewer Program, DEP is expecting to take until July at the earliest to publish the results of the applications. Recent discussions with DEP have been positive, and we're also awaiting updated SAM's number information to submit to PennDOT, or to DEP.
Okay.
Do we have the SAM's number yet?
No, I just had to get a letter that arrived at, station signed,
Yeah.
and, I gotta submit that back.
Okay.
Because whoever the administrator is was receiving the emails and they needed to approve when we needed to, and that wasn't happening. So we had to get the direct letter. We tried this route before, and weren't successful, so we're gonna try again. The process.
Thank you.
And everything.
So if we don't get the water, the grant, the ARPA grant, the store, so then we're on our own to fix Edgemont Avenue, right? And we have to do that with our COVID dollars before 2026.
Right.
So we can still do that on our own if we don't get that grant.
Yes, and we could also look at how much of the scope we would still want to keep at that point, or just go after the actual issues at hand, which are the sinkholes. But there's a large portion of the pipe that's also deteriorated that would be good to replace, especially if we get the grant. So we can, if that falls through, we can discuss where we want to go with the scope at that point.
And the
So-
roadway is totally bellied out again at Forest View and Edgemont.
I have been, I know PennDOT is looking to pave Edgemont Avenue. I contacted Mike Burns from PennDOT. He's aware of the situation. They aren't exactly sure of their schedule at this point. But I can contact them about that and see if they can send someone out to tend to it as much as possible, and hopefully
I don't know.
the timeline is a little longer than it should be, in my opinion, but I don't know the review process that DEP has. It's extensive.
How shovel-ready are we? Regardless of whether we get the grant or not, and we said go, what kind of lead time, especially if we want to try to beat the PennDOT? Meaning, like, can we go out for bid before we receive the grant?
No, that's not a good idea. Especially with the scope as is, then you'd be on the hook for what we anticipate is $400,000.
$400,000.
The scope as it is now in anticipation of the grant.
$435,000.
Right.
I've heard so many different prices on this project.
It was in
It was 100,000,
it was in the
400,000.
resolution that we passed to apply for this grant was $435,000, and we approved that application. And as our engineer just said, we're waiting for some particulars to finish that they need on this, the DEP needs on this.
Scott, you are right. They were the two options. The one was around 120,000 to fix just the sinkhole areas, or the entire system from Elbon down to Garrison, which is a lot more scope. So that's closer to 430,000.
And Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but before we could bid this out, we're going to have PennDOT permits. We're going to have to comply with flaggers, and then look for the bid and see if that incorporates the flaggers and everything else that entails a major project there.
Well, as far as the traffic control for the flaggers and everything, I factor that into the grant amount that we asked for.
Okay.
I did start the PennDOT permit process. It's not completed because the plans aren't completed either, and engineering isn't reimbursable, so decided to leave that as it is now, so we're not doing a lot of design work without getting reimbursed for it. But if we do receive the grant, the plans shouldn't take that long, but the PennDOT process is always its own process. But turnaround time for plans and getting out the bid, maybe 2 months after notification of the decision on the grant. So
Regardless of which way the decision is.
yes.
So 2 months to go to bid, and then once we go to bid, we have to accept the bids, and then we have to.
Just like any other
then-
project,
then
it takes a
then
couple of
The
months.
contractor has to have time in their schedule to do it. So we could potentially miss the paving project. the PennDOT paving project.
Yeah, we're going to be in constant contact with PennDOT to see where they are with that schedule and what their thoughts are of maybe pushing it off, or maybe just that area. But there's some discussions that need to take place, but right now we're just focusing on trying to get the grant and get everything that DEP needs to decide on our decision for the borough.
Okay.
And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodo.
Can I add, it's related to engineering. I've been in contact with the regional, the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission and their vendor for streetlights. He's contacted me and I've forwarded to council the email that he sent me, and that, so this is Keystone Lighting Solution, the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission's vendor for streetlights. So they're getting their ducks in a row in terms of this next phase of their streetlight program, and are anticipating coming to the March meeting to discuss the costs and benefits and opportunities to replace the streetlights in the borough. So that'll be at the next month's meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Unless they push us back again, which would be the third time.
All right. And now it's time for the solicitor's report.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The solicitor's report is as follows. Number one, I've been working in conjunction with Chief Murray and Councilman Costigan. My office has assisted those gentlemen in preparing the two resolutions that were adopted by Borough Council earlier this evening.
Thank you.
Appointing officers Charles Young and Mark Townsend to the position of full-time patrol officer here in Parkside Borough. Number two, over the past month, I have worked extensively with Engineer Rodo and PennDOT, again, to have our electrical contractor, Armour and Sons Electric, break out their particular bid quotes so that the Edgemont Avenue Beacon project may qualify for an expenditure of liquid fuels. Third item, I'm pleased to report that the borough has received full payment for 5 trash fee and 4 nuisance abatement municipal liens that we had filed against the property at 59 East Shelton Road. The borough had received a check earlier this week in the amount of $14,469.58. That property had been the borough's largest outstanding offender in relation to delinquent municipal liens. I have in fact provided instructions to our very capable treasurer with regard to the disbursement of certain payments to A&U Services, who have provided nuisance abatement services to the borough at the direction and again on behalf of the borough for this particular property. Fourthly, on or about January 20th, I had forwarded 2022 trash fee delinquency notices to approximately 18 property owners in the borough, reminding them again of their outstanding financial obligations to the borough. Subsequent thereto, the borough has received full payment from 4 of those property owners, again leaving 14 current delinquent accounts. Again, if I do not receive a positive response from those others by early next week, I shall be filing the appropriate municipal trash fee liens with the Delaware County Court. And with that, Madam President, I can report general progress.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is call to citizens.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ken Goldstein. I reside at 2624 Parkside Terrace. And I come here this evening just wanting to ask 2 questions and a comment relative to the position of the code enforcement officer. I understand that Nick Capobianco is still serving in the capacity of Borough Code Enforcement Officer, though he has not been reappointed by council to do so, as he continues to serve in good faith, devoid the vote of confidence of this council. It was suggested at last month's meeting that another individual be appointed to serve in that capacity, but that appointment was tabled after a brief executive session, and now I'm understanding with Ms. Stamis' reading of a letter of this individual's retraction of their interest in serving in that capacity. I'm going to eliminate a number of my concerns this evening that I wanted to put forth. So the first question that I'd like to ask is as to why some members of council feel that Mr. Capobianco should be replaced. I'd like to know in specifics as to how he failed in his duties and responsibilities of code enforcement officer to enforce the codes that are under his jurisdiction, or what conduct led you to the conclusion that he was not fit to serve in that capacity. My second question is that if, in fact, it be council's pleasure to replace Mr. Capobianco, is there not a process to replace him where a committee would seek candidates and advertise with a detailed job description amongst the borough residents or beyond to interview, vet, and make recommendation as to the full council of their findings, even offering Mr. Capobianco the right to reapply if he chose to do so. The comment I'd like to make is that I feel this is more of a matter of terminating an individual than it is a proven hire of someone to fill the position, especially with the consideration of the prior individual. So I might suggest to you that you already have the best person to fill this position of code enforcement officer, and that he be evaluated solely upon his performance and conduct in the position and not by criteria of political persuasion or personality. I've lived here, I apologize, I've owned here in the borough for 34 years, so I'm not new to the municipality, and I can honestly tell you how I feel in driving around the borough. This is probably the best that it has ever looked. So I put it to you and ask you if you can share with me, for those that have concerns, where you feel that he has failed you, and if it be the case that you're going to replace him, what is the procedure and process that you intend to do so?
I appreciate your comment. This is public comment. Thank you.
Okay, so do I have an opportunity that we, in some other forum, can discuss that with
Sure.
anybody here?
Sure.
And would you let me know as to how that might be accomplished?
Sure. You can email Timika, and she'll forward it to me, and we'll arrange a meeting if you'd like.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Hi, Powers, 2626 Crozier Street. Regarding Dave Havinger's comment about not being qualified, I have to say Rob's 25 certificates would make him highly qualified for his position. Thank you.
Question for our solicitor, Mr. Wells. If a solicitor is asked to do research, would that have come from somebody on council, or would that be just something they would go off and do on their own?
And I can only speak in generalities. Generally, yeah, the solicitor generally would not take that type of responsibility or task on in and of himself. Generally, he would be authorized by a particular council person or council persons to obviously engage in that type of research.
I'm sorry, I didn't say my name, Michelle Skrovac, 157 West Garrison. If there was a bill that was supposed to be, or that was submitted for December from our previous solicitor for research, then wouldn't someone know on council have asked him to do that research? Couldn't that have been done by somebody on council to save our borough money?
I can't
Not
answer that
just for you,
question.
just in general. Anybody want to answer this on council? Madam President?
I believe, I will speak to the solicitor. I believe we had a
I
misunderstanding.
think that would be something that would
Thank
have
you.
to be done before you pay it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sarah Haynes, 18 Beechwood. I just wanted to take the time to thank Councilman and Fire Marshal Rob Powers for responding to 98 fire calls for this year. That's it.
Hi, Judy Saunders. Two questions, well, comments. If the egg hunt is going to be at the woodlot, we still have that exposed bench that's just raw metal around a tree. Is that any concern? Will that be repaired before they do that or tarped off?
I'll have to look into it. Usually when I do walkthroughs, I'm down in where the actual trees are.
Yeah, the remainder of the bench, like it was one part that I think that was just broken off and
Yeah,
all
no,
the rest of it was
thing is-
pulled off.
Right.
So it's all just the exposed
Very
metal.
dangerous. I've
Yes.
said something before about that here.
And then my second thing was, I know we didn't get the grant for the rain garden that was supposed to be over in that area. Is that anything that maybe the community could do if the specs have already been done for it? I mean, I remember that there were people who wanted to do gardening over there. I don't remember why that was stopped, but if a rain garden is necessary there, is that something that maybe the community and the junior council members and people could come together and do for that area?
Yeah, my son's looking for an Eagle Scout project. Is that an Eagle Scout project size task?
I think, I don't know, but I think that Doug and our engineer had already said that there was some landscaping needed for that project, and that grant was turned down.
That grant
But-
was turned down, but there are a lot of really talented gardeners in this community that are looking for projects that.
And our
you know,
junior
if-
council members just mentioned that tonight, too.
Right, the memorials for mental health and
Suicide
and
prevention.
drug addiction, which could be incorporated into it. I mean, there's
Be
a
Doug.
whole Parkside planners that I'm sure would be willing to roll up their sleeves and get into the dirt if the specs are out there for the rain garden that didn't get the grant.
That would be.
Yeah, there's certainly a little more design work to it. It's really at a grant submission level of design, but it certainly can be done. And we can discuss.
Gotcha.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
Is that a big, what is involved in making a rain garden? How big is that? What is-
I think on there was somewhere around maybe 35 to 40 feet long, 10 to 12 feet wide, and somewhere around 1.5 to 2 feet deep in particular soils and plantings that would have to go in. So
You would need an excavator, it is actually.
An excavator, okay.
It's not beyond what an Eagle Scout project should be, and I would work with anybody that is interested in doing it as far as that goes. But like planting vegetables and things like that, it's not really gonna work. I thought maybe like wild raspberries and just blueberries and a few things like that. But when you have like full canopy, it's very difficult to grow plants like carrots and things of that nature. So if it wasn't necessarily shot down, the yield would be ridiculously low for the amount of work put into it. So, but a rain garden has a benefit for the MS4, and
You bet.
but you would need excavations, you would need like materials, like it's meant to capture essentially runoff and then allow it to permeate slowly into the ground. So you're using native plants, you're using things like that, but there's plenty of things through the Department of Agriculture, there's plenty of things through the EPA about how to do it, even on your own personal property.
Okay.
Something to look into.
Yeah.
Hi, Tina Crow, 130 West Roland Road. Last week, my family and I watched the meeting from home. A very detailed, informative president's speech was given. We were very disappointed to hear how much work for the borough had been missed. We also learned how far off the budget we are with the former solicitor. At the end of the meeting, council wanted to now replace Nick. I feel that was without doing any research on the candidate that you were going to put into that position. I also would like to agree with this gentleman. I think Nick does a wonderful job. I feel his qualifications are great for the job. I don't understand why you want to take him out of this position. I also, my question is, how can council sit here and state that you have the best interests in Parkside? If I cannot perform my job, if I miss deadlines, I cannot perform tasks, I would be fired. I would not be able to keep my job. We listened to a detailed report on how council just to appoint the same member back into that position. You failed to meet the requirements and have made absolutely no effort in learning how to run council. It's like you want the position but don't want to do the work. Please explain to the residents how this move can be justified. How are we going to have hope in someone who has already failed us?
Thank you.
And I would also like to note, there's been lots of emails sent in from family members and completely ignored and no one has responded.
I'd like to, I'm sorry. I have one or two things. The tax bills have been mailed out to residents, and I'm currently here right now from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. So you can come in and drop off payments and checks. We'll be extending hours later. Then also, if you have questions, we also have a 1% income tax. If you have questions, we have an outsourced company called Keystone Collects. They do our 1% income tax collection. If you have issues, please go to their website, keystonecollects.com. If you have questions about your taxes, our tax collector's name is Ed Fisher. Please go to the website. His phone number and his email is on our website, www.parkside.com. Thank you.
All right, is there any old business?
Yes. We discussed the metal plate at Tom Sweeney and Upland Road last month, and it's been an ongoing problem for about 3 to 4 months now. And I'd like to know if any progress has been made in getting in touch with Brookhaven Borough since it was their initial project. I understand their contractor through PICO, as I stated last month, apparently knocked into the storm inlet. And the plate is still there. A child was injured there, and I'd like to know what the progress has been to find out what's going on.
I did not know I was supposed to do that, and so this is at Tom Sweeney in Upland? Yes, okay. All right, I've got that noted.
I think that was delegated to Mr. Powers at the last meeting.
I think it was.
And he's been sick these last weeks. So that's probably that's how I recall it being left. It was delegated to Mr. Powers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Under new business, we have hiring more crossing guards. I believe our chief is taking that.
Yes, we have a crossing guard that is out injured while he was working for us. He fell up at the corner of Upland
Tom Sweeney.
Tom Sweeney.
Mm-hmm.
Not related to that plate, but he took a spill last week, ended up in the hospital, and he's going to be laid up for a good part of a couple of months at bare minimum. He's got a fracture in his humerus bone, so he is getting that treated, and he is a staple. It's Ben DeHaven, and Ben works more hours as crossing guard than any of the crossing guards. So we would like to get a couple of additional crossing guards in order to fill the locations that need to be filled without tying up a police officer there every day. So if we can move forward with that, we can reach out to the school district. It's not a cost item per se. We only have so many posts, and whether they're covered, that's what we pay for. So hiring additional crossing guards is not going to cost us any additional money.
Is that something we need a motion for?
No.
No? Okay.
We'll look into that, Chief, yeah.
Okay.
All right, anything else under new business?
Yes. I understand from talking with the tax collector that we have been looking into getting him a computer because his old one is dying.
Yes.
We did have a price, I believe it was sent through Ms. Timika.
Yeah.
I'd like to know, and I did talk to him Monday, have we purchased this yet?
No, not yet. I was waiting for authorization for
What are we
for the
looking at for a
purchase.
price?
Well, what'll happen is that I'll have to purchase and then get reimbursed and have Steve pick it up, or I can have it delivered to him.
Well, can I make a motion to purchase a new computer for the tax collector for the cost of not to exceed $3,000?
Well, he doesn't need a computer for $3,000. We researched to get a refurbed laptop that would install all of his software that he needed for the tax collector and billing and everything, and that cost was only like $373.54.
I'll make a motion not to purchase a computer for the tax collector not to exceed $500.
Yeah, refurbished computer, we shouldn't buy a new computer entirely?
I understand what
For
you're
what he
saying.
needs.
We've completed the research as to what he needs, and the refurb is everything. Like, I know what you're saying, new is better and everything like that, but with the refurb and pricing, this hits all of the points that Mr. Fisher needs, and this is the best cost-effective way.
I'll take your opinion.
Appreciate that very much. We have a motion, did someone second it? Someone seconded it, yes, Doug did, I believe.
Doug did.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
And just for housekeeping matters again, Chief, what is your proposed recommendation to council with regard to the crossing guards?
Hire 2 additional crossing guards if we can. I have one more thing.
I think for housekeeping purposes, why don't we put that in the form of a motion?
I'll make a motion to hire through and in conjunction with the Pendelco School District 2 new crossing guards and to advertise for same.
Susan, we do need a motion. Any questions?
Did we get a second?
We did, Doug, he's quiet. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Look at that, we're hiring people. All right, Mr. Roto just said he has something else.
I have one quick thing. We're waiting for confirmation from Hoopman Engineering that the land development submission for 20 East Avon was submitted without authorization and without a seal. And once we get that confirmation, if that was done incorrectly, we'll send the package back to the borough or deliver it back to the borough.
Joe, is that for new construction?
Yes.
Okay. I spoke with the BCO on that briefly, so I can...
Yeah, it was dropped off at our office and something doesn't look quite right with it, so
And
we're waiting for confirmation from Hoopman.
that's what we talked about.
Great.
All right.
I have a point of observation this evening, Madam President. And that is that every vote taken by Borough Council here this evening was unanimous. Let me say that again. Every vote taken by Borough Council here this evening was unanimous. My second point of observation is that apparently council has completed its business this evening in 1 hour and 5 minutes.
And I'm sure our residents appreciate that too, Jay.
Wait, please.
All right,
So,
can we get a motion?
if there is nothing else, I
Oh,
will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.